Okay, it's great. So, thanks everybody for joining us. We have with us a great topic today, and the topic is about how you can clear the Automata fix round. And why are we specifically talking about the Automata fix? Is because this is the exact question or the exact type of questions that Cognizant likes to ask. So, all of you students who are preparing for your third year, fourth year, especially all your fourth year students, Cognizant is going to do a bunch of off-campus rounds using AMCAT's Automata Fix. So I want you all to prepare thoroughly for this. In today's session, we are going to talk about number one, what is the Automata Fix, and we're also going to talk about what's the Cognizant pattern like. So we're going to discuss that about how the Cognizant pattern is structured, what you should focus on, and our main focus will be on Automata Fix, which is a different type of question that is asked by Cognizant. So all of you students, please make sure that you look around, know where the off-campus for Cognizant is happening, get in touch with your placement office. They will have the information about where the Cognizant off-campus round is happening. So that's the first thing. And second, pay attention to the format of the Cognizant test and specifically to what we're going to cover, which is the Automata Fix part. As usual, if you've just joined or if you've not seen an Edyst video before, we request you to please subscribe to this channel. If you subscribe, you will get notifications of any future videos that we do, and share with your friends who are also preparing for similar things. And if you have any questions or doubts, we will take your questions and doubts at the end of this session. So at the end, you will get a chance to ask all of the questions. Meanwhile, if you have a simple doubt or a simple question, you can just ask us on the chat on the right side. Our team is online on the right side chat. So if you have any questions, you can just ask on the chat, and we'll be more than happy to help you out over there. Our team is online. All right. So without further delay, let's get started. So Cognizant is this time going to follow the following pattern. And so this is the pattern that they've been following, and they're going to use this sort of a pattern around this time. So these are the things that you should be focusing on over here. So number one is the English comprehension part. This is again English logical quants is what we have over here. So we have the English logical and quants that is generally there in most AMCAT based questions. So we have these, that's English logic quants, and then you have the Automata fix section. Now this fix section is the one that's usually the more difficult one. There will be 7 questions, 20 minutes, which means that you have roughly about 2.5 minutes to do this per question. So I just got feedback that we should increase the volume. So let me just see if the volume is all right. Okay. So anyways, the Cognizant pattern that is being followed right now is that you'll have English logical quant section, and you'll also have the Automata fix section, which is the topic of discussion for us for today. But before I move on to that, let me just quickly talk a little bit about English logical quants. Each one of these has different type of questions. So you have 22 questions in English, 24 questions in logical, and 16 questions in quants, roughly each having about 20, 30, 16 minutes. So this is the time that is given to you, right? Again, this is not too difficult if you have practiced before. So if you have practiced English logic quants, this is the basic AMCAT type of a format that is followed. Now we don't know the exact cutoff for each of these, but suffice to say that you should be above the 50th percentile. So you should be above 50th percentile, and this is not percentage, we're talking about you should be above 50th percentile, which means roughly if you score anywhere between 50 to 70% marks in this, you have a good chance of clearing these 3 sections. For Automata fix, we are not sure because it depends on the difficulty of that day, and it also depends on how many people wrote it in your batch. So it also depends on that, but generally speaking, your aim should be that at least 60 to 70% of each section you should be attempting and you should be completing. So your aim should be that 60-70% of English logical quants and Automata fix you should be completing. Overall, this is about what? About just 1.5 hours, just approximately 1.5 hours worth of a test. So make sure that you're well prepared for it. Today's topic, very specifically, we are going to talk about the Automata fix section. So what is the Automata fix, how you can actually attempt Automata fix, and how that can help you clear the Cognizant round. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So just to give an example what Automata fix is, it is a coding based question, but it's not really coding because In the question, what you'll be done is you'll be given a sort of a pattern or a code, and you'll be told that, how do you fix this? That's why it's called automata fix. You're not supposed to find out the coding question completely by yourself, but you also don't, it's not an MCQ based. That's why students generally find it difficult, because in MCQ you can do at least some guessing, but in a coding you have to write the entire code by yourself. Here, some code will be given to you and you're supposed to complete it or correct it. For example, let me take a simple example for you and show it to you. This is an example of a code. So what you've given is, this is the output, that this is the expected output on the right side, that this code on the left side should be producing this code on the right side. So whatever is the code on the left side, and this is given in C. In Automata Fix, you will get C, C++, and Java. Any three of these languages you can use. But if you use any three of these languages, it's fine. We will do all our examples in C today because most of you have done C. So if you're given this code and we are expecting to get this output, now this code is not producing this output. What you have to do is, given this code, make some changes. So you have to make some changes into this code such that it gives us the above output. That is what the automata fix is about. So it could just be that you have to probably remove a semicolon here, you have to initialize the I and j values better, whatever it is. But that is what you're supposed to do. Now, before we dive into this question and actually start solving that particular question, we'll just dial it back a little bit and understand what you should look for. Most students just start looking at a question and start thinking about, oh, I'll remove this semicolon, or I'll do this print statement, or I'll introduce a new for loop. Don't think like that. What I'll suggest is follow these 3-4 steps, these 3-4 formulas that I say, and that should help you solve most of these automata fix questions. So what are some of these formulas and steps? Well, number one, always look for data type mismatch. It is a very easy way of confusing you or scaring you, that for example, if you are supposed to be taking input an integer and you took input a float, or you're supposed to be taking an input a character and you took input an integer, those kind of things will lead to a data type mismatch. So look out for those errors. So if I am you, the first thing I'm going to check is, check all print statements, check all scan statements. These are the ones where the data types are usually used. So for example, in scan statements you're going to use mod D, print statements also you're going to use mod D. At that time you have to check whether are we really taking an integer, or are we supposed to be taking a float or a string or a character, and so on. So make sure you scan the entire code and see, are we having any data type mismatches anywhere. Second, very notorious way of confusing you is by using these semicolons. So semicolons in an environment like Java or C++ or C tells us that this is the end of the statement. There are two ways in which semicolons will be misused for you. One is they might be missing. So for example, if we go into this code, what they could have done was, they could have just given this int ij without the semicolon. That would be wrong, and you would have to fix that by putting a semicolon. So they could just be missing semicolons, or they could be an extra semicolon or an unwanted semicolon somewhere, which will not give you an error in the program, but it will unnecessarily disturb your program. For example, over here, if you have noticed, for those students who might have noticed, if you put a semicolon at the end of a for loop, this is valid syntax, like C will accept this. But the problem is, this is not what we wanted to do. If you put a semicolon here, it means the end of the for loop. It will not process this print statement as a part of this for loop. So this semicolon is wrong and we have to remove it. So those are the two ways in which semicolons can be used to really misguide you. So first thing you have to look for is the data mismatch. That is, if you are having an integer, you want to have an integer. Second thing is the semicolons. The third thing that you want to look at is a more logical thing, and I'll explain this with a few examples. At this point, the major thing that you should be looking for is more and more rough work, and I'll show you how to do that. That you should be writing pseudocode. You should try to do as much rough work on pen and paper as possible. Don't try to do things mentally. Finally, there are these small errors like printing correct variables and in the right format. So, for example, over here, we are printing the variable j. Is that even the right variable to print? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Should we just print it with a space, or should it be printed with an asterisk outside it? These are small ways in which they can confuse you also. If you look out for these four things, and I will suggest that on a rough paper, the first thing when you get into the automata fix is write down these four possible approaches that can happen, and keep checking in each question whether it's any one of these approaches, right? So this is what we're going to do, and that's how we're going to go and attempt the automata fixed questions. Look for the easy mistakes first. Like I said, the easy mistakes are data type mismatches, semicolons. These are the easy mistakes, and even printing the correct variable. Easy mistakes which you can fix very easily. Loops and conditions logics, this depends a lot on rough work, and I'll show you how we are doing that in just a minute. So just to recap, there are about 4 types of errors that you're going to get. Any of these 4 errors can change your question. So the first two errors are really easy to spot. Make sure your semicolons are in the right place. Make sure that the data type mismatch is not happening. You will get some of the questions like this only. And for those questions that don't have this, then we have to dive deeper into finding the logical and conditionals issue, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to open this specific thing up on the Edyst platform. So we have a few sample practice questions for this on the Edyst platform itself. So just give me a minute and I'll open this up on the Edyst platform. So when you see this on the Edyst platform, I'll show you how you can actually go in and practice, and we have about 3 questions free of cost for you to actually practice on the Edyst platform. So just give me a minute and let me log in and show you. Okay. Yeah. So what we have over here is, yes, just logging in, right? Yeah. Okay. Right. So what we have here is the free module, and I'm just going to go into the free module, and there are these warm-up automata fixed questions, the last ones, right? These are the automata fixed questions. So I'm going to look at this modify to print pattern number 1. This is the one that I'm looking at. This is the question we just saw, that we were supposed to print a pattern like this: 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5. This is the exact question that we just saw, and it has certain amount of code like this written over here. So it's int main, int ij, and some for loop and all written over here. And this is exactly how your thing is going to be like also. That is, they are going to give you a code and you're supposed to actually modify that code and then submit that code. So this is what we have, and this is what we're going to do. We have this code over here, which is supposed to give us this output, that is 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5, and it's not giving us that output. That's what the question is telling. And because it's not giving us that output, we need to fix, hence automata fix. We need to fix this question so that it gives us the correct output. Now, how do we go about doing this? How do we go about solving? Let's first look at all of the simple issues. So what is the first thing that we said? Any data type mismatch. It doesn't look like we're doing any input. We are doing output over here, and it is an integer and it's an integer. So it doesn't look like any data type mismatch as such over here. Next thing we have to look for is semicolons. So if you look at semicolons, if you look at this, there is a semicolon after a for loop which is not desirable. So we can just remove that semicolon. So that's one of the things we solved. Now don't think you solved it just yet. Okay, we'll come to the third point, that is the logical and conditions part later. Fourth point is printing in the right format. Now we have this code. How do we do some rough work to find out what's happening? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this piece of code and actually going to simulate what's happening in this code right now, right? So we've made some changes to the code. Let us just take that, and 1 second. All right. So I'll just take that code and I'll show you how you're supposed to simulate what's happening in the code. So we have this code over here, and what we can see is it's supposed to print something like this: 1 1 2 1 2 3 4, right? Sorry, 1 2 3, and then 1 2 3 4, and so on. That's what it's supposed to print. And what it's doing right now is, what we should do ideally is take some values for I, take some values for j, and see what it's printing. All right. So for example, when I is 1, this is how the for loop works. I is 1. Is I less than equal to 5? Yes. Then it will go into the for loop. When it goes into the for loop, j is 1. So I is 1. J is 1. Is j less than equal to I? Yes, j is less than equal to 1. Print f j. So I'm going to print 1 over here with a space. Then it goes j plus plus, j becomes 2. When j becomes 2, j is not less than equal to I. So j will break. Now I will become 2. J will become first 1 again, because it starts again from 1 when j is 1. what is it going to do? It's going to print J again, and now it's going to print J next to the original J, so the original one. So it's going to start printing like this, and it's going to print 1 1 2, and then it's going to stop. Then similarly, when I is 3, it's going to print for J values 1 2 and 3. So it's going to print something like 1 1 2 1 2 3. As you can see, the problem here is the J values are correct only, but there is no new line being printed. There is just a space being printed over here. There is no new line being printed. If after J has printed its values, if there is a new line over here, then it's going to print all of these values in a newer line. The values are correct only, 1 1 2 1 2 3, they are correct values, but they should just be printed on a new line every time we're going ahead. So let's just make that change and see if that is what changes it, that is what works out. So let us make that change over here. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make that change. We said that we print J, that's fine, but after that it should print a new line also. And just to be clear, it should print a new line when this J loop is over. So when the J loop is over, how do we know that the J loop is over? Let's define some brackets here, so that now we know that the J loop, when it's over only, it's the backslash n is going to get printed. So first the J values will get printed, and then the backslash n will get printed. Let's try to run it and see, does it work? Okay, just wait for it to run. All right, so meanwhile, while it's running and checking out, let's just see what's happening here. So it's I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus. All right, it will go all the way to 5 because we do need 5 rows. And let me just see till where it's reached. Okay, I think it's about to complete. Yeah, all right, we passed the test cases. That's brilliant. Let's try to submit the code and check it out. Okay, all right. So again, while it's doing that, just to have a recap of what we've done so far, what we have is we changed this semicolon. That's the first thing that we did. And the second thing that we did after that is we added a new line after this, because we realized that all of the J values are correct. It needs to print on a new line every time. So every time we have a new line of J, we need to print it over there. So that's what it's doing. And I think this is almost done. Yeah. So we passed all 3 test cases. Brilliant. Okay. So yep, it does work. It is working. And that's how we did. So just to have a recap of how we solved this automata fix question, this particular automata fix question, as I was saying, what we need to do is the checklist for you to do is this. Start with the data type mismatch. Check why the data type any mismatch is there or not. In this particular question, we did not have any data type mismatch. So all the integers were integers. We were not taking as a float or a string or a character. So that's good. We checked for semicolons, and yes, we found out the semicolon in the for loop. So the semicolon was wrong. Loops and conditionals logic, we did a little bit of rough work to find out which one is the loop that is not behaving correctly. And the fourth one is we printed the correct variable. J was correct, it was printing correctly, but not in the right format. So it was printing in the same line, but we were supposed to be printing it in a new line every time. All right. So I hope you understood with this formula that generally if you follow this formula, most of your questions should be solved, right? So there's one more example that I want to show you. Okay. And let me just bring that example up. So this is the code which says we have written the code for finding the nth power of 2 as follows. So this some code has been written over here to find the nth power of 2. What does nth power of 2 mean? Let's say n is equal to 0, 2 raised to 0 should be 1. If n is equal to 1, 2 raised to 1 is 2. If n is equal to 10, 2 raised to 10 is 1024, right? So this is just exponents. This code is supposedly finding the nth power of 2 as follows. We are supposed to find out, or you are supposed to fix what is actually wrong in this code. So this code is also available to you on the Edyst platform. So I'll just open it up on the Edyst platform so that we can see and practice it together. All right, so just opening it up. All right. Okay. All right. So not this question, but the other one. Yeah, fixed power of 2 is what it's called, right? So we have over here fixed power of 2, and as we're doing this, I think somebody already solved it. So Vinay Kumar, who's on the platform right now, has already solved this question. So congrats, Vinay Kumar. Hope you clear Cognizant. The rest of you, you can still do this question. All right. So this is the question that's given to us. That is, we are given this question and it's supposed to print the nth power of 2. In fact, example inputs are also given. Example input 0, output 1. Example input 3, output is 8. Alright, so how do we go about solving this question? So let's go directly into the question and see what is the first thing that we're going to check for every time. We're going to check for if there's an input mismatch or not. Here we have long int. Are we scanning long int every time? No, we are not. We should be scanning long int. For those of you who remember, scanning long int is scanf mod ld, and over here also printf should be mod ld. So that's the first change that we made. Second change is semicolon. So as you can see over here, this semicolon is wrong. There should not be semicolon after the for loop, so we'll remove that semicolon. And then let's just check the values. Is it coming out correctly or not? Let's say n is equal to 0. Then the answer will be 1, because answer is 1. It never enters this loop, and so it will print 1. Let's say n is equal to 2. So answer should be 4. The way it's going into is I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 2, I plus plus. It multiplies 2 into 1 and then 2 into 2. So this seems correct to me, that we removed the semicolon and we removed this. So it does seem correct to me. Let's just run it and see if it's working out. Okay. Did we miss? Meanwhile, let us check while it's submitting. Let us check. Did we miss anything out? We have long int n over here, answer over here. Answer is equal to 2 into answer. So it doesn't look like we probably missed anything out over here. We'll just wait till the submission comes back to us in about 5 seconds. So let us see if there are any issues with this. And okay, we passed the test cases. Great. So the input was 3, expected output is 8, and our output is also 8. So let's submit and see whether it's working out. So we made the changes and we submitted, and now we'll see whether it's working out. Let us look at some edge cases over here. One of the things is the question has not mentioned what happens in terms of negative numbers. Now negative numbers, a 2 raised to a negative number will become a fraction. So it's not mentioned here. So in such cases, just assume that it's going to be 0 or positive, because even in the example input it's not mentioned, and nor is it mentioned anywhere in the question that it could be a negative number or not, right? So it's not mentioned anywhere. Yeah, and that animation basically means we passed all the test cases. Great. So again, we passed the test cases simply by looking at the data type mismatch. In the previous question, there was no data type mismatch. Here, there was a data type mismatch for int and long int. The second thing that we did here was made sure that the semicolons are in their correct position. So these are basically two types of questions that you're going to get in the Automata fix. There is a third type of question that you will get in Automata fix, and that third type of question is basically when you are given a code and you're supposed to reuse that code. For example, you could be given a code of say a prime number and you're told to reuse that prime number code in other parts of your code. So that is a little bit more tricky. There you are not solving any issue in the code. Some code is already given and you're supposed to just plug it in into different places and reuse that. That is a more interesting thing as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll be covering that part of the Automata fix, those type of Automata fix questions tomorrow around the same time. Subscribe to this channel and you will get a notification on how those Automata fix questions are also solvable. But in the meantime, if you want to practice these 2-3 questions that I have just showed to you right now, we have these free questions on the complete coding pack available to you for free. So these 3 questions are freely available to you, and let me show you how you can go and do these questions. So the way you'll do these questions is you have to go to a link called bit.ly/edyst_ccp, and let me just write that link to you so that you also understand where do you have to go. So just bringing that link up for you, right? Right, so this is the link that you all should be going to. Yeah, this is the link bit.ly/edyst_ccp. Once you hit this link, you will get, so that's bit.ly/edyst_ccp. The moment you hit that link, you will arrive at the following web page, and in this web page, if you just go down over here, you can click this apply now button. The moment you click this apply now button, you will land up directly into this complete coding and test and interview preparation. I click that and I get one free module completely. So this is the warm-up basics of programming. Once I click this free programming module, let me click it here. Once I click that, I get in, and all the way down here, Automata fixed questions. Three questions available for you to do. And also, congrats to Vinay for already completing these three questions. Really good going. So there are three free questions for you to do. Do try it out, and there are more questions for you to do of these kinds in once you pay and actually buy the course. So over here we have even more questions, about five more questions from Cognizant, and we will keep adding more and more of these off-campus questions as well. Not only for Cognizant, but for so many other companies like we have for TCS, Wipro, AMCAT, Mindtree. In even in the more IT companies, we have L&T, Tech, CGI, Mac Software, Accenture, Capgemini, GGK Tech, Virtusa. All of these companies are there. So really, I suggest everybody to just get onto this course and enjoy all of the questions that we have got from the previous year's topics. Right. So with that, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to wrap up this session. We will stop now for a Q&A. So just want to thank everybody for attending first of all. I know that today is a festival and you have other plans, but so glad that all of you are interested in knowing about placements. So I'll stop now, wait for a few questions from our team. I think there might be some questions on the chat. So, if there are any questions on the chat, I'll just wait. Otherwise, we can sort of wrap this up right now. Um, all right. So, okay. All right. Any question right now? Okay, doesn't look like too many questions. I think everybody is in a good festival mode. So thank you everybody for joining us. Um, I'll just check. Somebody's asking if they are 2019 passed out, are they eligible for a drive? The best thing you have to do is for the eligibility, please check out with your placement office. If you've already passed out, please just check out the eligibility criteria in the advert. What will happen is you will get a notification from your placement officer or from Cognizant, and that will have exactly the eligibility criteria mentioned. Right now, as far as I know, all of the off-campus drives for Cognizant are happening for 2020 graduates, but don't worry, every month there is a new off-campus drive, and 2019 graduates are also getting a lot of opportunities. Recently TCS conducted one, and I'm sure Accenture and Wipro are also going to conduct one for 2019 as well. So keep your preparation up, keep practicing all of the previous year's questions, and you will also get a chance to crack these off-campus drives. So I think that's it from everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was useful. Do stay tuned in. Do sign up for tomorrow's webinar where we cover one more type of Automata fixed question. So do sign up for that, and wishing everybody all the best for your Cognizant off-campus drives. All the best everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.